Thank you, Siili Solutions, and thank you for this special opportunity to tell about the experience with the Ōura ring and what we can really derive, what kind of information we can really derive from like physiological sensor data, and how actually this analog, your pulse in your veins and the movement of your arms can actually be used via digital platforms to give a lot of meaningful information about your life and health, and maybe even guide your decisions you make. So my experience is 17 years at Polar, and now 7 years at Ōura. And next slide, please. I would like to start by displaying some data, aggregated data from ring users. So all this data has been derived by wearing a Foreground Ring. And what you can see is average resting heart rate of Ōura ring users across 6 different localities. And you actually see separately the average resting heart night by night from 2 years, 2019 and 2020. And you actually see significant patterns there. And first of all, you might think that why is there, what are these ups and downs there? It's not random variation, it's a weekly variation of resting heart rates. That every weekend, global resting heart rates goes up, and during the week it goes down. And then you see an absolute spike upwards at the New Year's Eve in each country that's described here. But now, what happened in spring 2020? It's like a big change that happens, and what take our resting heart rate down. And you would imagine that heart rate coming down means good things. It means that you have recovered better, even your fitness may have increased, and maybe you have cut down of use of alcohol and other things that prevent you from relaxing. So we will return to this, but imagine that all of this has been achieved by Foreground Ring, and how can you end up in this kind of results of reasoning from that data? The next slide, please. And then another topic that I want to emphasize in this talk is that we need to look at our data in the long term. Instead of looking at like our single training session or single poor night's sleep, we need to concentrate on the long term. And this slide illustrates how this is like my colleagues' temperature data, and one temperature data from each night. And we have like 6 months worth of data here. So every bar is 1 night. And all of the sudden you can see like some kind of whoop, like waves there. And then all of the sudden like a sense that keeps there, like half a degree temperature up. What happens here? It's just simply menstrual cycle taking place and affecting pretty much all of the biosignals in your body, like month after month. And then she started some kind of test in her life, how do you call it? You take drugs to prevent you from getting pregnant, and they have an effect in your body, and had a clear effect in her body. So long data is strong and long data comparison to your own norm can tell a lot. So here in this talk, we are considering that how the information from your body, how that can be bridged via sensors to the user interface, and how people can learn and get new insights, learn about their body, and become aware of what's happening, how their behavior is affecting their body and their body signals, and how with this digital user experience, they can become more aware, have like aha moments, that this is me, this is how I'm reacting to different kinds of things. And then they might think that, what if I try to live differently next day? And then they can see how their body reacts, and also, as I showed, in the long term. So I'm presenting 5 steps for building awareness on health behavior and their responses. So first, you need unnoticeable sensors to measure your physical and physiological data. Then that data needs to be combined into context, what's happening, and what are these body responses we want to measure. Then we analyze that data and derive your personal normal values and what are abnormal values. And then we feed back what's happening at the right time of the day, that so you are ready to receive the information and you are even ready to make changes in your body. And then all this information can also be harnessed to serve the society and even prevent in preventing healthcare if you'd so like. Next slide, please. So what should we measure? What's important for your health and health behavior? And how can we make the measurement unnoticeable, comfortable? So in health-related behavior, we all know, and we have known for long, like activity recording heart rate monitors that basically tell us to be more active every day. And there are proven health benefits in being physical active that go across your cardiovascular health, weight maintenance, and blood glucose control, even mental health, and daily functioning and daily performance. And it's interesting that how different areas of science approach this same problem. If you go to nutritional science, you hear the same story, how you need to eat and drink the right things to stay healthy and keep functioning well. But now what has been less understood until lately is the importance of sleep and how all these things are actually intertwined, how they are connected to each other, how actually by sleeping regularly and well, you actually get health benefits that are almost exactly the same as we traditionally know and think with physical activity and diet. And these things are related. Next slide, please. In the first big data analysis that we did with the Ōura ring data, it was like the first generation ring, some of you remember, the big nice ring. And when we look at that 10,000 people that we had that time, those people who had the most consistent wake-up times, so their sleep routine was like regular, they had lower BMI, lower body mass index, they had lower resting heart rate, and they had less inactive time periods during their day. And on the other hand, those people who were living most irregular life in terms of bedtimes and wake-up times, they had higher BMI, higher resting heart rate, and more inactive time periods. So these things are related, and our behavior matters. And one thing you can start with is your sleep routine, if you want to positively affect your health. So one way to do the measurement unnoticeable and get accurate metrics from your body is this Foreground Ring. There's a lot of technology, Finnish design and technology embedded there. It has infrared LEDs, 3D accelerometer and gyroscope, and NTC temperature sensors to provide this biological sensor data and effective algorithms that are power efficient, so that also enable this convenient measurement and convenient use. And the motivation for all of these measurements is that they somehow serve these provide meaningful and important data about your daily movements and behaviors, your resting heart rate variability, and body temperature variations that can be put together and analyzed at what is the root cause and what is the consequence of things. So the motivation for the measurements is always important, not only embedding of technological sensors in there. The next big thing is that, as I described, it's important to look for your individual norms, always compare to your norms and not to the population averages. The change in behavior can only be achieved by comparing to your own norm, not to others. And for instance, it's not so fruitful to concentrate on single bad night, but rather that you make your lifestyle such that you avoid chronic sleep debt. You prevent from you accumulating problems in your life. And the change in behavior can only be achieved if all the data that we accumulate and display and that we make a relationship between the person and the device. The change in behavior can only happen if the person has increased awareness of who I am, why I react, why I do, what I want to achieve and in my life, what is important to me, and all this can happen also by seeing your data and seeing how you respond to your lifestyle. And one example here is this optimal bedtime. It's a feature in the app, the Ring. It just collects your long-term sleep data and tells you that what's the best time for you to go to bed that gives you the best sleep scores, the best sleep amount and sleep quality combined. And then we analyzed Ōura Ring among Ōura Ring users who had received this kind of optimal bedtime recommendation, and what is their normal go-to-bed time and what would be the optimal go-to-bed time. And maybe not so surprisingly, we see that the best sleep scores would be achieved by going to bed about 3/4 of an hour earlier than normally. You mean if you go to bed too early, your sleep quality is compromised. But if you go to bed too late, you don't have enough time to sleep. So consistent, already this data that I have shown until now shows that consistent go-to-bed times give like better quality of life overall, and a little bit earlier go-to-bed time gives you optimal combination of sleep amount and sleep quality. And all this information was collected by a like small ring. Then the next final part of my presentation is that how could we then spread this positive message and how we could help people like in a broader perspective. And this picture here is actually showing all these organs in the body that are negatively affected by sleep deprivation. And we easily think that we heal the stress and we feel the sleep deprivation in our head. And it's something that we need to take like a cup of coffee or something to shake away, a short walk to shake away the bad feeling of stress, or take a meditation, and all of a sudden everything is all right. But if these things become chronic, it's important that they are experienced in the whole body. So that's why, by the way, we can also measure the responses from peripheral signals and analyze our sleep and stress and all these kind of things. So if we can reduce our stress levels and pay attention to sleep, we can actually do a lot of good in our work to reduce chronic diseases. And as I show the skin temperature relationships to like a menstrual cycle phase, there are applications in pregnancy-related matters and women health overall, and work-life balance. And well, like one of the simple things that what has happened, that the gossip says out there, is that like the Ōura ring mainly has reduced the alcohol intake among Finnish engineers. So it's a good thing. And we have paid attention to our circadian rhythms. So we did analyze global resting heart rates over the time period of 2.5 years. And we see that every New Year's Eve has a big spike. And actually the most stressful time in terms of resting heart rate, elevated resting heart rate, is actually between Christmas and New Year's Eve. And then we have this kind of seasonal variation. That's the opposite direction in the southern hemisphere of the world, in the lower panel. And then we have this weekly rhythm that is contrary to what we would like to. We would like to have weekends as a relaxing periods when we like get ready for the next week. And sometimes it's not the case. And then we saw how the pandemic and the lockdown severity actually affected our resting heart rates, though that surprisingly in countries like in Singapore, where the lockdown stringency was like big, where actually the people went to bed a little bit later, but they slept more, and their resting heart rates went lower. And then there are a lot of future applications that, now that we understand that the devices like the ring are measuring your pulse, PPG signal, every single pulse over the course of the night. And there's a lot of information there, in addition to heart rate and heart rate variability, that are important numbers, but there are also other information that can be mined from that data. For instance, I named a few that are like talked about in the among wearable devices right now. It's like blood pressure changes, arrhythmia, apnea, SpO2 measurements. All that information is there, and we kind of let that gold mine flow through our fingers right now. And then we already have some findings how menstrual cycle, and I related some of the individual people's data, how menstrual cycle affects the measurements of skin temperature, and actually also heart rate variability, and breathing rate. We have some science done on the topic. So it's time to conclude. We have various sensors that can measure a lot of things from ourselves. A lot of those numbers can be made much more meaningful if we take long-term data, samples regularly or irregularly over the same person, and we do the comparison into your own values to determine if your life is stressful, if you are recovering well, and if you are doing the right things that support your health and well-being. But there is this bridge that technical people can fill in, how this information flies from the human body to the sensors, and from the sensor to the user interface. And then we need to take the next step, how that information from the from the device is bridged to our understanding of human life and our behavior, and how we, if we are ready to make changes and find the good things that are available for us in our lives. So the course goes such that we as developers, we build better systems and devices, more accurate, more convenient, more human-like, that speak human. Then we as humans, we can reduce our stress levels. When let's do the right things at the right time, like sleep at night, be physically active at day, have regular meal times, be private our workouts and have relaxing moments and have time for social life and such things. When we do these right decisions, our physiology will respond, and we will see that with the same device and same equipment as we have now seen. We can observe the good things. Thank you.